Welcome to Microsoft PowerPoint 2019 Lesson 2, Outlines and Interactive PowerPoints by Megan Race. This lesson is a heavy one. We're going to be covering a lot of information about all the details of PowerPoint. So in Lesson 1, we kind of went over some of the basics. In Lesson 2, we're going to go much deeper into each of those things. In fact, the majority of what you need to know is here in Lesson 2. Lesson 3 is smaller, actually. Lesson 3 will take a little less time, as I anticipate it will, than this one. But there's some really, really fun, cool things in this that you can use in other future PowerPoints you have to create for a class. If you use the formatting that we do in this one in a future PowerPoint for a class, your teacher will be blown away. Most teachers don't even know, if they don't know PowerPoint as well as you do, they have no idea you can even do this in PowerPoint. So it's going to be really fun, really cool. We're going to be doing a PowerPoint about natural disasters, and we're going to be using lots of different features and graphs and tables and videos and stuff to make it interactive and fun to use. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing, besides, you're going to open up a blank PowerPoint for this one. So you'll notice in the file there's no starter, okay? So you're going to want to open up a blank PowerPoint. I just go in here and I type in PowerPoint to get a blank one, okay? And that's all you want is a new blank PowerPoint. Then you're going to go into the folder and you're going to open up a Word document that's already been prepared for you. So what we're going to be learning how to do is how to take information from Word like this and make this into slides, because sometimes it's a lot easier to just do all the typing in Word and create everything in a outline format and get all the typing in here and then move it over, especially if you're going to do something with heavy information. So I can take something like this and I can turn it into a PowerPoint. So you're going to take your information, and the first thing you have to do, first of all, you got to know there are some drawbacks to pulling it from Word, and that is that your master slides aren't going to work the same. So if I pull this in, the fonts are going to get pulled from here, not from master slides. So I can't now go into master slides and change the font, and they won't all change. It's not going to work. So if you want a font, you need to change it in here. So when you bring it in, it goes with it. Okay. So it does make master slides work a little differently, but it still saves us so much time. So what we're going to do first is we're going to highlight. We're going to create styles. Okay. Again, if you've done styles before, if you've done my Word lessons, you already know styles. But if you don't, it's not hard. You're going to click on Home here, and everything that I make heading 1 is going to be a slide. There's going to be a slide called Water Sports, right? And then rowing, I want that to be a slide, so that's going to be a slide there. Slide. So I'm going to take all the ones that are numbered, and I'm going to make those a heading 1. Now everything that's heading 2s are going to be the sub information that's put onto that slide. So the slide will be called rowing, and then these will be all the bullet points. So I'm going to come over here and do heading 2, and then heading 2, and heading 2. Okay, so those are all created. Any extra lines you have, like if you've got an extra line at the bottom, it's going to count that as a slide, any blank line, so you want to get rid of that. And then the coloring, everything's going to go with it. The formatting is going to go with it. So I'm going to do Control A, and I'm going to make what color I want my main text to be, what font I want it to be. And so I'm just going to pick kind of a regular font that it looks good with lots of writing. You know, I don't want to do something obnoxious. So we'll go with that. Okay. And I'm going to make that black because I really don't want, the writing to be blue. And then I'm going to take my titles and I'm going to decide what font I want my titles to be. And remember, title fonts can be a little more obnoxious, not too obnoxious, but somewhat. So you can kind of decide something that doesn't look very good. That's kind of a cool one. Where'd it go? I have a lot of fonts. I'm a little obsessed with fonts. Okay, we're going to do Raven. That's kind of cool. And then I'm going to format paint that here. And if I double click, I can format paint. Oops. I should do that. Double click. This one. Okay. Oh, and rowing. Don't miss that one. All right. So now I have it all formatted the way I want it to be. I don't have to add the bullets. Now, the other thing you have to know when you're going to pull this in is that you have to save it and you have to have it closed. It won't let you pull it in if it's open. So I'm going to resave it because you guys have probably pulled this off of a place where you can't save. So at least in my class you have. So I'm going to save that as Water Sports 2. So it has its own name. It's not like the original. And then I have to close it. Okay. If I don't close it, it won't work. So I'm going to close it entirely. And I'm going to go to my blank PowerPoint now. And I'm going to go to New Slide and do Slides from Outline. And then I just got to go find it. I'm trying to remember where I put it. Right here. Okay, and I'm going to do water sports 2. I click OK, and there it goes. Voila. Everything has already been entered. Okay, so I'm going to get, some reason it always puts in a blank line. Get rid of that. And then this is my title, so I'm going to change my layout to title slide because that is my title. And I'm good to go. I have all my slides made up for me. All right, the next thing we're going to do is section layout. So I went ahead and added some new slides with new information because it's kind of how yours is going to look. And notice when I added new things, the fonts aren't going to do what I want them to do necessarily, although yours will be imported in. But we're going to go ahead and make section headers. So each of the titles that I pulled in, rowing, surfing, water skiing, I want those to be section headers. So I'm going to highlight, I'm going to hold on my control key, and I'm going to click on all of those. And I'm going to go into layout and do section headers. So right here, and it changes the style so that they look a little bit different. Okay. And then you're going to need to go in and change what it looks like. So those are section headers. We're going to go into view and go to slide master. And then you're going to find the section header here, right there, and you're going to reorganize it. Now, the next thing I want to show you is how to change position and size. So in your assignment, it actually tells you exactly how big to make these boxes. So I want to make sure you know how to do that. So I'm going to go to drawing tools here. And when I click on the box, I can go to drawing tools. And right here, it tells me exactly what size it is. So if it's saying I want it 6 inches, not 63 inches, 6 inches, and I want this to be, 4 inches or something, that's how I can get it to be the size that I want. And then when I go to size here, I can click on position right there. And that allows me to change the position. So I might want this position to be 3, and I want this to be 4. I don't know, I'm just guessing. I don't even know what I want it to be. But that's how it will tell you exactly where it wants you to put it, is by setting that position properly. Okay, and then there's a list of things that it asks you to do to organize this. I'm not going to go through that because all of it is review of everything in there you should already know how to do. But you should be setting this up. I'm not going to set it up the same way as yours, but let me just set this up in a different way. So give me a second. Okay, so I set this up and I actually went in and did do the fonts that are the same ones, just because then if I do create a new slide, it might catch it. But see, I went in and changed all of mine, so that saved me a little bit of time. You're welcome to do that as well, if it helps you. So once you've changed your title slide, it wants you to right click on it, and you're going to rename the layout. So you can call it disaster slides or whatever asked you to call it. I'm just going to call it section slides or something like that. You can actually rename it. And the reason why is because then when you come in here and you choose it, it'll actually say section slide. It'll put the name in there, exactly what you called it. And so it makes it easy to find the one that you're looking for. Okay, so the next thing is changing your shadow settings. I don't know that we've covered this very well, so I'm going to make sure you've got it because it asks you very specifically to change the settings on this. So that means that I would come into here, I would click on this, and I go to shadow, and it will tell me how big I want the angle to be. It might, be a certain number, and the distance, and it will actually let you set that. And you can do that with anything, with reflections or glow or whatever. And this is something I have seen on the test before, where it wants you to be, not just pick a shadow here, but it wants you to actually customize the settings of the shadow or the blur or the reflection or whatever to make it exactly what you it does ask you to get a picture from the internet for your title background. And so you can do that here by going to picture, insert, and choosing online pictures. And if you have the ability to look at online pictures, you can do that. I can type in water sports, see what I can find. Maybe that would be cool right there. And then I would probably want to change transparency a little bit. If you don't have online pictures available, then you're going to need to come in here, type in water sports. And maybe get something like this. And then you're going to want to save it. So make sure you get the bigger version of it, if you can. And then save the image into your folder. And then just go get it from wherever you saved it. So that's what you'll have to do if online pictures is not available to you. Now, the next thing is how to repaint a format background. So notice if I have this set and then I do a new slide, it doesn't take the formatting with it. So if I want every slide or another slide to have this same format, I just click on it in the sorter here. I click on Format Painter, and then I click on the next one and it will copy the formatting over to the next one. Okay. So I went ahead and added different backgrounds for each one of these. And so say for my surfing, all these are about surfing as well. So I can click on this and do Format Painter and format paint that down that way so that each one has the same background for its, its sort of section. Like that. So that's how you would format paint a background. So we have done smart art, but we haven't done smart art with pictures. So I'm going to do a section on that. When you have smart art that's already, or the information that's already there for you, I'm going to click on that, convert to smart art, and go to more and choose picture. And in this one, you kind of get to pick the one you want. So you can always pick it and then be like, oh, I don't really like that. I'd rather do something else. And then you can come up here and kind of choose different ones until you find the one that you like best that's going to fit what you're looking for. And then you are going to be inserting pictures for each one. So I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to go ahead and change that, the colors and everything. I don't think I actually chose a color scheme, so I'm going to go back and do that really quick because you should have gone to Slide Master and chosen a color scheme. So I'm going to do that really quick. Okay. So now I'm ready to add my pictures. The pictures are already provided for you. So you would just go from File and go get the picture that's provided. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled in all my pictures and that, and then if you ever were to change which one you pick, it will just rearrange it for you. So you can always, after the fact, kind of look at each one and see if that's really the one that you like best. Now, artistic effects is kind of cool. We're going to click on this. We're going to use this again, possibly in lesson 3, but we're going to click on this and go to picture tools, and you have artistic effects here. And it just gives you the ability to make it look maybe more cartoony, or like that one makes it look like water's kind of going on it. That's kind of cool. But it just gives you different effects that you can add to it. And I believe in the assignment, I ask you to do like cross something. So if you put your cursor over it long enough, it will tell you what it's called. And you just have to find the right one. Crisscross etching, I think, is the one I have you do in the assignment. So you're going to do that to each one. I'm just going to do a different one for each one for fun. So, but that's how you do artistic effects. Okay, the next thing is using guides when you're making shapes. So I'm going to actually get rid of this and go into Insert Shape. And I'm going to be making a couple of buttons in preparation for a trigger. So I'm going to grab this button, I'm going to highlight it like that, and I'm going to type in bodyboard. And I kind of want to make this one look the way I want it to look, like I want to set that up. So any changes I want to make to it, like I might want to make the same font that I use. That first button, you want them to look as close to what you want as possible so that you don't have to change it later. So I'm going to come into maybe add no outline and add a bevel, and you can kind of make it look the way that you want it to look. And then once you've done that, you're going to copy and paste it, and you're going to use these guides. So do you see how you have these dotted lines? And they can really help you make sure that they're lined up evenly. So that one, that's telling me that they're the same distance apart, like that. Okay. And then I can rename the other ones that I want to do. There's lots of different kinds of boards, but I'm just going to do a few. Okay, so these are my different kinds of boards. And the next thing I'm going to do is name those shapes. Now, when you're doing a trigger, which is what we're going to be doing in a minute, you're going to be selecting shapes, and it's really hard when they all have kind of the same name. So for me, I always have the hardest time remembering where to go to find shapes, but you go to Home, you go to Select and Selection Pane. I always have the hardest time finding that. But notice they're just flowchart. The names of the chart, that doesn't tell me anything. So I won't know how to select which is which. So I'm going to click on the one that I want, and I know that's bodyboard. I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to rename it to bodyboard. So when you're doing triggers, it's really imperative, especially if you're doing more than one, that you make sure it's clear which is which. Okay, so I'm going to rename that, and this is egg. And then this one is hybrid. Okay, so I have my shapes named, and you won't even know it just yet, but when we do triggers, it will really matter. Okay, so now I've pulled in some pictures of what all these different boards look like, and I'm going to add 2 animations to each one. First, I want an entrance, okay, that comes in, and then I'm going to add a pulse to it, like that. Okay, so it has 2. We do the same thing for this one. It's gonna fly in, And then I'm going to add, oops, I'm messing up all over the place. Make sure you do add animation or you're going to replace it. Okay, and then this one's going to float in. I'm going to add the pulse, and then this one's going to float in, and I'm going to add the pulse. Okay, so the way it's set right now, if I were to, the next thing we're going to talk about is how to change the setting for click with previous or after previous. So right now it's all set on click. What that means is that when I come in here and I watch it, it's going to click, 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 click. I have to click for each of those things. I have to click to make it come in and then click to make it do the emphasis. It's a little bulky. So what I'm going to do is keep this click here, but I'm going to grab this one and say start after previous. Okay. Now if I do after previous on each of these, previous means whatever the last click was. It's going to do it automatically after whatever your last click was. So now when I watch this one, it's going to click and I only have to click one time and it comes in. Okay. So the pulse goes in automatically. Now you also have the option of after previous or with previous. And what that does in this case is we'll make it do it at the same time. So let's see what happens when we do with previous on that. So we come in and it enters and clicks at the same time. And it looks kind of weird. It doesn't quite work. But there are times when each one is better than the other. Like it just kind of depends on what you did. Okay. So I'm going to set those back to after previous. All right, so again, click means I have to click to make it come in. After previous means it will come in after the last click. And with previous means it will come in at the same time. So, and I could set this one to after previous, right? And then they'd all come in one at a time. Like if I did this, if I set all of them to after previous. Okay, now if I watch it, I only clicked once and then everything happened automatically. Right? And it's just set to be automatic. So after previous and with previous are always going to make it behave in an automatic way. Okay, so let's set these back though, because this is how I wanted you to do it. I wanted you to have it after previous on each one. Okay, now we're going to set a trigger. Okay, now triggers are not hard to set, but they are a little tricky to wrap your head around the concept. So what a trigger means is when I push this button, this is going to happen. I push the button and something happens. I basically make a button that triggers an animation. The trick is the trigger does not go on the button. It goes on the animation. The button doesn't do anything. It's just passive. It just sits there. So you don't need to really worry about the button, except that you want to have named the button so you know which button is which. So what happens is I click on the animation that I want to trigger. So I want to trigger the animation where the bodyboard comes in. And I'm going to go to trigger on click of, and now you know why I named everything, right? Because there's all this stuff in here. What is what? I don't know. Now I click on bodyboard and knows that that's the name of this button. I click on bodyboard, and now when I click on that, it's going to work. Now let's do them all first. Notice that trigger got pulled down here, okay? And then I want to make sure that after previous goes with it, right? Okay, then I'm going to click on this one and go to trigger, and this one is going to be with fish. And again, I'm going to pull this down so it comes with it, so that'll come in afterwards. And then this one, I'm going to go ahead and trigger that. And that one is egg. Pull this down with it. And finally this one, which is hybrid. Pull this down with it. Okay, so now they're all triggered. So let's see what happens when I watch it. Okay, so when I come in here, nothing happens. I click, nothing happens. If I just click, I'll miss it. I have to click on the button. So I click, 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 click. Right? So that is how you create a... Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to create a map chart, which I kind of geek out about this because I didn't know you could do this until pretty recently, and it is just fun and cool. You want to keep your background white for this one just because it's harder to see. We're going to go to Insert Maps, Insert Charts, and we're going to choose a map over here, and you click OK, and it kind of creates it for you already, and it's a map of the world right here, and you can make it bigger if you need to, and it already has it kind of set up for you. So I'm going to pull this down, and you list where you want what you want to be on the map, and then you put numbers, and the numbers just determine how light or dark the color is. Okay. So I'm not going to do anything specific. I'm just going to do states, so it's a little easier if it's just United States. So I could do, Hawaii and Utah and California and Indiana. Okay. And so far, nothing's happening because I don't have any pictures in there yet, right? Alabama, okay. And then when I put numbers in, so 5, 6, 4, 8, 10, whatever, it's going to actually color those states. So I think that's kind of fun. And you can, obviously we had the world map on there. You can do the world map as well. So, and then from there, you can add other things to it to make it stand out. You can do world maps, and you can do state maps. I mean, you can even do counties if you go by zip code. It's a little tricky, but I was able to get it to work. So for your assignment, you're only going to do a United States map like this, but it's kind of a fun thing that you can do. And you can also do it in Excel. It's actually better in Excel, but it's pretty awesome in PowerPoint too. Next thing is a few things with tables. And that is like resizing a table. So let's say I have a really large table like this one. It's really big and I want it to be smaller. So I want it to get to fit on the page. So first I want to change the font size from 18 to like 10 or something. So it's a smaller font. It won't do anything right away, but it will allow me to resize it later. So I'm going to go to Table Tools over here and go to Layout, which allows me to change the size. And I believe in your assignment, it actually gives you a specific size to enter in. So, you know, maybe like 6 height and, you know, I don't know, 10 width or something. And it still doesn't quite fit. I know that in your assignment, when you paste it, it'll actually snap to it. So in the assignment, you'll type the amount in and it won't actually go to that because it's too small. But once you paste the information, it'll work just fine. But this is where you go in and you can change the actual size. Another thing about tables is adding columns and rows. I remember this being on the MOS test and I was stumped for a minute. It took me a second to find it because in Word, you just right click and insert new rows. And you can't do that in PowerPoint. So you have to go into Table Tools, you have to go to Layout, and it's right here. Insert to the left, or insert to the right, or insert below, or insert above. Like, you have to actually do it in the table layout. You can't right click and do it like you can in Word. And then of course there's the table styles. Don't forget, the table tools are in here. They have names. And if you hold your cursor over it long enough, it will tell you what the name of that particular style is. If you wanted to change, say you wanted this to be a different color, you can still have the power to change that and make it look different. You don't have to stay within where it started. You can edit it beyond what this style does. So the next thing is inserting video. There's 2 ways to insert video. So when you go to the insert menu, you have video here, and you can either insert it from this device, meaning it's already saved as an MP4 file and it's its own file, or online video. And online video means you're going to copy and paste a URL from like YouTube or something. We'll do that more in lesson 3. So we're going to go to this device, and I'm just going to use the one that I already provided for you. This is, notice it's an MP4. This is the same one you're going to pull in your assignment. And when you double click on it, it literally pulls it in like a video. I can resize it to whatever size I want. I can play it. Okay, and I have that freedom to do things. And notice there's all kinds of things. I can add borders to it. I can add soft edges and effects or whatever. I can crop it. I can put different shapes on it, whatever. So there's a lot of things I can do to it, just like I would to any image, but it is a video. Note too that when you pull in a video, if you go to your animations pane, it's going to be there. And so there's my video right there, and I can choose here if I want it to play, as I have to click on it to play, or I can do start with previous like we talked about before. And now when I go to that slide, which, oh, it's right there. Okay, so now when I go to that slide, it will just start to play, right? I don't have to press enter or push the play button to get it to play. So you're welcome to set that on yours. Now there's also the notes section. So if you ever take something from YouTube or you get your information from another site, and you probably need to source that and where you got it. So if you click on notes right here, you can paste whatever website you got it from or whatever. So you can actually paste information, or, you know, this is, or copyright, any additional information that you want other people to know. And generally the notes are not going to be seen by the people watching the PowerPoint. So if you're presenting it, the people that you're presenting it to, they're not going to see your notes. But if you share this PowerPoint with somebody else, and you want that, and maybe you created it and then other people share it, you might want to put notes in there saying, oh, when you present this, make sure you do this, or this is where I got the information. Or sometimes you might have a link, like maybe I created like a shape here, and and say video, and then I created a link, right? I link it so that when you click on this, it opens up YouTube and plays the YouTube video. Well, sometimes that YouTube video might be defunct or might not work, or the link doesn't work. And so I might want to put the link down here so the person using it knows what video I was trying to show or whatever. So the notes are just there for another presenter. They're not really there for the person you're presenting to. All right, the next thing we're going to do is graphs. You have two different graphs you're going to pull into this. So I'm going to go ahead and set this layout to 2 content, so I have room for 2. And the first one you're going to create yourself, and the second one you're gonna import in. So the first one, we're gonna make a combo chart. So you're gonna go ahead and click on the chart button here, and you're gonna choose combo. And then notice a combo chart means that like some of the data is going to be a column chart and some of it's going to be a line chart. So I'm going to click OK. And then I got to enter my data. And honestly, I'm literally just going to throw in numbers. I'm not going to get real information on this, but I'm only going to have 2. And so I could say injuries and incidents or something like that. And then maybe this is in, you know, say parasailing. Again, I'm absolutely making this up. Don't make up. You will be given the information that you need. Okay, so again, this is not real information, so don't get mad, but I figure you probably don't have any deaths in rowing. But okay, so there I've created my stuff here, and I've got injuries versus deaths. And a combo chart is when, and again, we talked about this in Excel if you did Excel, but combo charts are when you have data that doesn't match very well. These numbers are really big, these numbers are really small, so they just don't, it doesn't match up very well. So I want to make the information separate. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on this and go to Chart Tools and change chart type so I can get access to my combo chart. And then right here where it says deaths, I'm going to make the deaths the line chart, and I'm going to include a secondary axis, right? I could do it the other way around. I could make this one the clustered chart and make this one the line chart, and you can kind of test them both sometimes, see which one. Obviously it looks a lot better the other way around. So I'm going to do clustered and line, and then you want a secondary axis because this axis measures the injuries, and then this axis measures the death, and it shows me the correlation a little bit better. So I click OK there, and if this were real data, it's saying that water skiing doesn't have very many incidents, but when they do, they die. Like they're more likely to die. And this would say lots of people get injured, but not as many people die as injuries. Again, not real information. Okay, and then I put in here a title, injuries in water sports. Okay. So for this next one, we're going to do an imported graph, meaning the graph is already made in Excel. I found that when you do insert and try to import with an object, it's not great. It doesn't work very well. That technically you should be able to do it that way, but it's a lot easier to copy and paste it. So you're going to pull up the document that's provided for you that has it already created. You're just going to click on it and copy. And then when you come over, put your cursor so you have where you want it to go, like you have the placeholder selected along the outside of it. So it will replace the placeholder. And then when you paste, you want to do this one. It says link, okay? Link, destination, theme, and data. And the reason that you're doing that is because later you're going to change it. So let's say you find out the information is incorrect. So if I were to come over here and say, oh, ribs is actually 22%, it's going to actually link the data to it. So if I change something, it's going to actually edit it and move it accordingly. So that's how you link the data. Another one is changing the shape in a SmartArt. So we're going to go back to the SmartArt that we already created right here, and you can change the shape. So let's say I don't want this to be, I want it to be a different shape. So I can click on the shape itself. Okay, and when I right click, I can go to change shape. And I can actually change, obviously, the shape that I want it to be. So maybe I want this to be a circle, and it will change it. Okay, so that's how you would change the shape of a document. For some reason, when I click on it, it's going really slow. So if yours is going really slow, don't worry, give it a minute, it will come up. But in your assignment, you are going to be asked to recreate a slide that uses lots of different features in the animation menu. And it's tricky. So I'm not going to show you exactly how to do it, but I am going to show you all the different features, and then you are going to try to piece them together to make it work. I highly recommend you try to figure it out on your own. If you can't figure it out, it is in the solution video, so we'll show you exactly how to do it in the solution video. But we are going to go over each one and how all of them work. So the things you're going to use are insert audio, repeat till the end of slide, delay, start with previous, and motion paths. Okay, so we've already learned motion paths. I'm not going to go over that. And start with previous, we've also gone over, but I do want to go over those 3. So insert audio, repeat till end of slide, and delay. Okay, So first of all, when you insert picture, so when you have something animated, let's go ahead and animate this, okay? You can come over to your animation pane and you can do an effect option and you can add a sound. But I found that when I was creating that, I wanted the sounds to build on each other. So you're going to have something come in with sound and then something else come in and then something, and I want the sounds to build on each other. And I want them to play at the same time, which is not as easy to do if you set it up, if you attach it to an animation. So you're going to instead bring it in separately. So you just go to Insert, Audio, and then Audio on my PC, and then you'll pull in the file, okay? I'm actually going to do the same one that you have in lesson 3 or lesson 2 here, which is video and sound. So you have 3 earthquake sounds. So I'm going to pull this one in, and it pulls it in separately. Notice it does show up on my animation pane though. So when this one comes in, and then the sound starts, right? So I can change the order around if I want or whatever, but there's my sound. And I actually don't want this to be visible. So I'm just going to pull it off. I'm going to stick it off of the slide so you can't see it. So that's how you would insert that. You could also come in here and do start with previous if you want it to start immediately, or do you want it to start with a click? And I actually think on yours, I ask you to start with a click. So keep the first one clicked, and you're actually going to pull in several of them. There's going to be 3 different sounds you're going to pull in, but that's how you pull in audio separately, okay? The next thing is how to repeat till end of slide. Do animations, and we're going to add a spin on that. So we're just going to let it spin and spin and spin and spin. And it only spins one time and then it's done. So I can go in here to Effect Options, and I have a lot of changes. First of all, did you notice it was spinning the wrong direction? I kind of want it to spin the other way. So I can always choose counterclockwise, and I can make it spin this way, which in this case makes a little bit more sense, right? I can also come in here and do timing, and where it says repeat, I can say until end of slide. So now it'll just keep going until I press enter. So if I were to go into F5 and watch this, oh goodness, find where I put this. Okay, I can click, here's my sounds, and it's just going to keep going around and around and around and around, okay? So that's how I make it repeat till end of slide. Other options in here is how fast it goes. So I can also have it go very slow or very fast, and that's kind of up to me how quick I want it to move. So you can also change the speed. Notice how it looks when it's repeating till end of slide. It's showing this here, okay? And it's important that you kind of pay attention to that. I'm going to show you some details about that in a second. Now there's also delay. Okay, so delay means that I have, let's say I have another, let's do a shape. So I have a little shape in here, and I want the shape to come in. So let's add an animation to that. Have it float in. And I want it to come in with previous, but I want to delay it a little bit. So I'm going to go to Effect Options, and I'm going to say Timing, and I'm going to delay it by like a second. Okay, so because if I did after previous, it's going to start, I mean, this goes till the end of the slide, right? So after previous isn't going to work very well, but before, if I do with previous, it's going to start at the same time. I want it to delay. I want the thing to start spinning for a second, and then the rectangle comes in, right? So that's delaying it. Now you can go the way I did, go to Effect Options and go to Timing and choose Delay. I actually don't like to do it that way. I like to just grab it with my 2-sided arrow and move it so I can eyeball it a little bit. Notice you can also make it longer. So if you wanted it to play for a longer time, or you wanted it to be a slower entrance, you can actually set that to where you want it to be. So this, moving this like this is the same thing as going into effect and delaying it. And then this just makes it take longer. So if I were to take out, I'm going to take out these ones. And if I play it from it, it comes in and then it comes, see how it waited a second? So if I pull this one in a little bit more, so it starts spinning, spins for a little bit, and then it comes in, right? This kind of thing we're going to use a lot in lesson 4. So be prepared. Okay. And that's pretty much all you need to know in order to make that slide happen, okay? Because you're going to be having stuff coming in on a teeter, and it's going to have sound coming in, and then the sound's going to build, and then stuff's going to come in, and it's all going to be automatically playing. So in your directions, it will give you a link right here that tells you what you want it to look like. In fact, let's take a look at that really quick so you know what I'm talking about if you haven't seen it already. So you're going to create a slide that looks like this. So you have, it's moving, and then there's a delay, and then these come in with a motion path, and this one comes in, and then there's a delay, and then this one starts, and then there's a delay, and the sound comes in with each one. And so it's almost like it's building as you go. Okay, so that's what you're going to be creating. Again, if you try it on your own, see if you can do it on your own. If you can't, then use the solution video. All right, next is a really easy one that probably should have been in the basics, and that's just duplicating a slide. If you want to have a second copy of a slide, you can just right click and duplicate. And I would only use that if I'm like, I needed another title and I wanted to look pretty much the same, and then I only have to change one thing. That's how you duplicate a slide. You just do it here. You can also delete a slide the same way. The next thing I'm going to show you is a special transition that was added in 2019. It's only on Office 2019. The transition's really, really cool. Let me show you what it does. Okay, so let's say I have this slide and I've got these 3 shapes on it. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that slide. And on the second slide, I'm going to make some slight changes. So I'm going to make this one bigger, make this one bigger, make this one bigger. I'm going to move it slightly. And then maybe even try changing my shape fill gradient to a different gradient. That might be kind of fun to see what happens. So I'm going to do it as if the gradient moved, right? So let's see what happens there. Gradient, we'll move to that side. Okay, so I did that. And then on this slide, I'm going to go to transitions, and I'm going to add the morph one. And you'll kind of see, oh, it needs to be this slide, sorry, that has the morph. Okay, so let's watch what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to that part right here. And when I click, it morphs like that. So it just takes something and it actually makes it look like it's moving, but it's different from like a motion path because you can actually make changes to it. You can make it change color or size, or I wonder what would happen if I change the color. I haven't really tried that. Let's see. This one's really fun. So if we change that, let's see what happens if we have a color change. See, it changes the color. That was kind of cool, right? So morphing, it's kind of like you can animate it a little bit. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is sections. And you have these section headers, and this has gotten kind of messy, this thing, but I had surfing and rowing and stuff. Those were sections. We're going to actually turn them into sections. So what I'm going to do is click on rowing, and I'm going to hold down my control key, and I'm going to click on all the stuff that had to do with rowing. So these 3 slides, and I'm going to right click and do, where did it go? Add section. Okay. And then I name it. I'm going to call it rowing. Click rename, and now it's named up here. Okay, then I can go to the surfing section. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all surfing. And I'm going to go to add section and call it surfing. And then I'm going to go to the next section, water skiing. Okay, and add section. Notice it kind of does everything underneath it. So you want to make sure you get everything there. So parasailing, I only had the 2. And parasailing. Now, once you've done that and you have it in sections, watch what happens when I go to print, when I go to slide sorter. So I'm going to go to view, slide sorter, and it actually separates it out by sections. So now it's got the beginning, rowing, surfing, water skiing, parasailing. It actually puts it in each individual section. Now, one of the reasons you want to do that is because of one of the new features that's been added to 2019, which is called Zoom. And this is new. I didn't even know it existed until I took the MOS test, and I was like, what? So the first thing I'm going to show you is Zoom Summary. And you just click on that, and it literally finds the names of the sections for you. So it already knew which one were my section headers. And I click insert, and it creates a new slide, and it puts the sections like this, okay? And you can change the background and all that. But when I watch it, and I go to that slide, I can click on it, and it literally takes me into that section, and then it comes back. So it just lets me look at that stuff, and then it sends me back. So pretty cool. And then I like how it lets you go right back. You don't have to get back on your own. Now you can also insert them separately. So that one allowed me to do them all at once. If you have a new slide already out and it's already set up, you can just go to section zoom, and this one you get to pick by hand, and it pulls them in as separate pictures. They do the same thing, but it allows me to actually organize it the way that I want it to be. So I have that freedom to use it. And then the slide zoom, just instead of going by sections, it just shows me all the slides. So I could just do this particular slide. I can pick individual slides and have it. So I have total freedom there where I can just click on the ones that I want it to have. But in your assignment, you're just going to do a summary zoom. All right, we are almost done. The last thing we need to learn is how to do a hyperlink within slide. So in a previous lesson, I had you guys come in here and you right clicked and went to format or hyperlink, and you pasted a link in here. Okay, but you can also hyperlink within a slide. So I can come over here to place in this document, and I can select any slide. So I'm in the competition slide now, so I can click on that slide or this one or whatever, and I can make it go a different direction. So now when I go into this and I click on this one right here, when I click on video, it's going to let me jump forward to a different place. So that's how you hyperlink to a different slide. And you might do that. I think on the first page, I'm going to have you create one that takes you to the bibliography at the end. So that's how you hyperlink within a slide. Also, when you're setting an action, I believe I have you guys do a home action here. So an action setting here. It's automatically going to want to put you on the first slide. But you might be like, yeah, but I don't want that slide. I actually want a different slide. You can pick a different slide. Or you can go to slide and choose a slide. A specific slide you want it to go to. Okay, so that is all that you need to do to turn in this assignment. I hope you learned something new and cool, and I hope that all your future PowerPoints that you have to create for classes are going to use some of these features and blow your teachers away with your awesomeness. So good luck on lesson 2, and we'll see you back for lesson 3.